No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey, all of you gardeners, I hope you're having a wonderful week and everything's growing great in your gardens. It's awesome to have you here for our very first Let's Get Growing show of 2024. Now, let's get growing. All right, everybody. Welcome to our very first gardening live cast here on the Urban Gardener channel of 2024. I'm your host, Enoch Graham, and I'm really excited to bring this show to you today. We've got some really, really awesome guests coming up here later in the show, starting with our big main featured guest, Nate Murray from Garden Like a Viking. And I can already see that the Viking crew is already in our comment section right now, raring to go. So stay tuned for Nate here just a little bit later in the show. We're going to have a really, really great conversation with Nate. He was one of our biggest guests of last year, and a couple of technical issues during our interview. So I was really, really excited about being able to bring him back for our very first show of the season, and really looking forward to that conversation coming up here in just a little bit. And also before that, we've got joining with us for our Are You Following Me segment, our good friend and sponsor, Charles Malky from IV Organic. So we'll have a little conversation with him to kick off our show for today. So really excited about that. And again, stay tuned for all of these really great guests and all of that as well too. So if you are here right now, be sure, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up, click the subscribe button if you haven't already, bell notifications, you know, the whole deal, so that you can be notified of all of our gardening adventures here on the Urban Gardener channel. And be sure to share with your gardening friends. We've got a really great show here with really awesome guests each and every week on Saturdays and even now Sundays. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a moment, but share with your friends. Let everybody know what we've got growing on here on the Urban Gardener channel. We're going to have great gardening conversations with some of the gardening community's just most awesomest gardeners. Like today, we've got Nate Murray. We've got other guests coming up here. Like in a couple of weeks, we'll have with us from the Gardening Channel with James Prigioni. James will be joining us. It'll actually be a pre-recorded interview we did just the other day. It was a really, really awesome conversation. So I'm looking forward to bringing that to you too. And then we've got other gardeners like Joe Lample, Linda Vader, Growfully with Jenna coming up. We've got so many more, plus some guests that you might have seen already this last season if you've watched and followed along with our show already. So again, we're going to have a really, really awesome and exciting gardening season and right here on our show. So I hope that you all come and join with us each and every week and come and check out and meet some of these other gardeners. There might be some gardeners you haven't met yet that'll be really awesome for you to check out and see what they've got growing on as well, because we are one of the greatest communities on social media. I mean, YouTube, it doesn't matter. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it doesn't matter where you are. If you are participating in the gardening community, you're a part of one of the greatest communities there is on social media. And we have so many great things growing on here in our channel. And we love to be able to bring to you and introduce to you all some of these just really, really awesome gardeners and growers that are out there. So again, follow along with our show each and every week to find out about all of these great gardeners as we keep growing along this year. Now, also at the top of the show, I do want to make sure I'm giving a big, huge shout out to all of you who are watching on the replay. Don't want to forget about all of you. So right at the top of the show, I want to welcome all of you to our program, and I hope that you really enjoy it too. If you do have any questions, comments, or anything like that, suggestions or anything, get down in the comment section below. Let me know all about it. And again, too, if you are here with us live, though, jump into that chat box and let us know what you've got growing on this year. And if you do have any questions or comments or anything for our guests, for me, or anything like that, do be sure to get into the comment section there and ask your questions. And I'll keep an eye out for those so that we can feature them right here on the show and ask our guests, especially too, when we get them on here in just a little bit. So right on, right on. How awesome is this? It's our very first show of 2024. I'm really, really excited. We had such an amazing year last year in 2024, or 2023, mind you. Sorry. It was our first year. I came up with this idea during the pandemic and really was hoping that we would have a really good show ultimately. And that's exactly what we got. We were able to get so many amazing guests like today's guest, Nate Murray from Garden Like a Viking, on our show, and just a really major success. So with all of that, I have just been really chomping at the bit to get started with this season and to start showing and talking with and having conversations with all of these just amazing gardeners that we have lined up for us. Now, I did mention too that we are also going to be on Sundays as well too. We do have a Sunday edition of the show. The Sunday edition is going to be kind of a variety. We're going to do just a few different things. We've got a regular guest, a good friend of ours, Scott Wilson from the Gardener Scott channel, will be joining with us every second Sunday of the month. And then on the third Sunday of the month, we're going to be doing a gardening book club. So we're going to be doing that. We'll be talking all about that sort of stuff tomorrow. Plus, one of the big ideas that I wanted to do for our Sunday edition was to also kind of, that was kind of one of the things that I kind of got caught up here in the off season too, was that I have this amazing list of all these really great guests that I want to get onto the show and I want to talk to, and I want to have conversations and introduce all of you to. And also, again, we had a really successful 2023 season. So many awesome guests like Nate and all of that to have on our show that I was just, with one show a week, I was like really kind of like in a bind to try to get as many of our previous guests on, as well as have new guests for us throughout the season. And so that's what we did. We decided to come up with the Sunday edition. And so we'll have these couple of regular weeks. And then on the other weeks, what we're going to do are garden roundtables. What I'm going to do is invite some of these previous guests we've had on our show, and we're going to get together with like 2 or 3 of them. And we're going to talk about different things going on in the gardening world, seasonally and topically for that time of year. We'll talk about different subjects, and we'll have a couple of different people, and hopefully, what we'll do is we'll kind of spread people around a little bit. So we'll have some people from some different regions and some different places so that we can kind of get a different idea of how people deal with different things in different places. So I think that's going to be really fun, really informative. It's going to be just something just going to really add to what we're able to provide here on the Let's Get Growing show. So that's going to be really exciting. So be sure to come and join with us tomorrow. Again, same time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's when we're going to do our show, and we'll have our each and every Saturday and Sunday. So again, really excited. As you can tell, I'm really excited right now to get everything going. Also too, yeah. So again, let's jump right in here. I want to check in here. I know we've got a lot of folks in here in our comments section. I hope that I can get to everybody here. For the most part, I want to try to start welcoming some people in, starting with this person I just really got to thank so much. That we've got basically probably the greatest moderator on YouTube for our show. We've got Jay Dixon as moderator. So if there's anything we're talking about, or people we're introducing or anything like that, you can check out in the comment section for all of you here who are live. for links. Jay's really awesome about putting in links to different things so you can check out the sort of things that we're discussing, or some of the people in their channels and their different websites and things like that as we're talking about them throughout the show. I mean, we're so lucky to have Jay with us. So again, thank you so much, Jay, for joining with us and being here and helping out with today. It's a great start for us. I already see we've got a really great crowd here coming in from the Garden Like a Viking channel. So all of you Vikings, are just really awesome to see all of you. We do have with us Rob's Allotment Gardening joining us from the UK. Rob's a frequent viewer of our show. Thank you so much for joining with us. I see we've got Sow and Tear here. Awesome to see you. Sow and Tear will be, here's a little tease for next week. We're going to feature Sow and Tear for our Are You Following Me segment next week. So definitely be sure to come in and meet Sow and Tear on our channel there. And let's see here. We've got from Montana, Vanessa. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, Vanessa. Nancy, one of our longtime viewers. Nancy, awesome to see you. Thanks for joining us here. Got Sharon from Indiana. Awesome. Dave saying, long live Joe Dirt. Hey, y'all. Yeah, I love that introduction. I love that little clip. It's a great way to kind of start off the show with a little bit of humor, right? Sharon is saying too, the Viking tribe is here. Yes, indeed. You guys all sure are. Really great to see all of you here. And of course, look at that. We got Nate's already in the conversation right now. Looking forward to it. Conversation, my friends. See you all soon. Just got done watching Nate's live stream too. That's one of the things I get to do is watch Nate's live stream while I'm preparing and getting ready for my show. So that's something I do each and every week since I met Nate last year. So really fun to kind of have a little kind of gardening talk before I get into mine here on the show. And then Connie joining with us here. Awesome to see you, Connie. All right. Let's get in here. Big Will Dog, Pam Pottager. Awesome. Try to make sure we kind of acknowledge some folks here. John Jude says, Growfully with Jenna. She's my biggest favorite YouTube. Awesome. Well, again, stay tuned. We got her coming up here on the show for sure for you right here. So be sure, again, too, like I said, subscribe so you can follow along and meet all these great gardeners. Awesome here. Let's see here. Let me get through here. All right. Excellent. So let's move on with our show here. We're going to have a really fun show. We're going to introduce a few different segments and things like that we kind of started with this last season and kind of changed up a little bit. But I'm trying to bring back some of our fun little segments and things that we have for our show. So hopefully you guys all really enjoy the show here. All right. And here, I'll be right back in just a moment. Let's Get Growing is sponsored by IV Organic.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with IV Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
So, all right, definitely. And if you go check out IV Organics, definitely go check out their 3-in-1 plant guard. This is something that I definitely believe that every gardener should have in their garden shed. It's a great organic tree paint, and it protects against, like the winter frost, the summer sun scald, and tons of pests and things that can really, really wreak havoc on some of your plants and trees in your garden. So definitely go check that out and use promo code GROW10 to get a discount on that 3-in-1 plant guard. So definitely go check that out. We're really excited to have IV Organics back as a sponsor for our show again this year. So as I was just mentioning before we took our break there, that we do have some new segments and everything here, and one of them is going to be this really fun new way to test all of your guys' garden trivia. We're going to try to keep it a little easy sometimes for everybody, just so we could have a little bit of fun with it and all. But what we have with us for our show is Sarah Hood from sarahseedshop.com, who's going to join with us each week to bring us a really fun garden trivia. All right, Sarah. Really, really awesome to have you here with us for this new garden trivia segment that we're going to introduce today for everybody. So first off, how's everything going for you right now? Or how are you doing, and how's everything going in the garden?
Well, it's going great so far. It's early spring here where I live, and so I've got a few cool weather crops just starting to come up in the garden. I've got some spinach and some beets, some radishes and some lettuce, and so they're just little tiny sprouts right now, and real excited to have them coming up and getting started with my garden again this year. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, too, it's just one of those really exciting times of year, right? Here we are. We're just thinking about and anticipating all of the sort of things that we can get growing, especially for those of us who live in climates where we're kind of waiting winter out just a little bit. So when we get those seeds started and we start seeing them sprout and germinate and everything, that excitement just really, really starts to escalate, right? Just so much fun,
sure.
with them going.
Yep.
Awesome.
Good time for seeds.
That's right. That's all right. So what we're doing now is we're going to be doing each and every week. You're going to come and join with us and present to us kind of at the top of the show here a gardening trivia question that we can all kind of have fun with. And then later on, we'll bring you back on to give us the answer here. So what is this week's garden trivia?
Well, this week I've got which common cool weather garden plant group includes vegetables such as broccoli, cauliflower, and kale? Is it A, cucurbits, B, nightshades, C, alliums, or D, brassicas? Now, if you all think you know the answer, go ahead and drop it in the comments and stick around for the answer later on in the show.
Yes, indeed. Got a really great, fun little trivia question there for us all to get started with here. And we'll check back with you in just a little bit here on the show to find out the answer to this week's garden trivia.
Sounds great.
All right. Really fun. I hope that you all have some fun with that garden trivia question there. And definitely jump into the comment section there. Throw in some of your answers there. And again, like I said, we'll check back here in just a little bit to with Sarah there to get the answer to our question. We're gonna make them a little bit easy here. Maybe we'll really kind of get you guys here a little bit later on in the season with some really hard ones here too. So so hopefully you guys enjoy that segment there. And what we're gonna do now is I want to jump back in and check with everybody here and see who we got. I see some people already jumping in with some answers to our question here. All right. You had some of their own. Awesome. All right. Got Wickershire Farm joining with us here. Muddy Paws, 208 Roots. Thank you for joining with us here. Awesome to see you. Teresa Durr. Awesome. The Wickershire Project. Awesome. Good to see you again here on our show. Great to see you. Awesome. So, all right. So one of the things I was saying too is we're going to be trying to switch back up. And one of the things we did this last season when I first started the show is we had a couple of different segments. One called Are You Following Me? And another one which was Garden Channels of the Week. So there were two segments. It was just a little bit too much. It was a little too much time, and we were going on the show with the two different interviews. So what we're doing this year is we are kind of combining these segments up into just the Are You Following Me segment. And for the Are You Following Me segment this week, we're going to, or wait here, let me see. I'm sorry. Yeah, real quick here. Let's get started with our Are You Following?
Are you following me? Are you following me, dude?
So all right. For this week's Are You Following Me? We've got with us our good friend and sponsor of the show, IV Organic, Charles Malky. Charles, thank you for joining with us here. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Enoch. It's always a pleasure.
All right, right on. I awesome, man. I see you're outside and everything. Sun shining right down there in Southern California. Awesome.
So I just taught a class, kind of as we first met many years ago now, here at a new place. My first time here at the Orange Homegrown property. It's a community garden, and they offer educational courses here weekly. And I'm in the city of Orange in Orange County, California, just next to Chapman University in Old Town Orange. And again, like I said, we just had a class. We just concluded about a half an hour ago, and figured I'd do a quick plug for them and for those of you in the Orange County area to come down and participate and get connected to the community and other people very enthusiastic about growing their own food.
Awesome. Yeah, I do remember that. That was a really great class, and I really liked what you were doing. That was one of the main reasons why I first wanted to go see you, was what you were doing at that organization, A Million Drops, and teaching folks how to garden and do some really great urban gardening. And you always put up some really great lessons on your YouTube channel. And that's one of the things I also want to remind everybody is that IV Organics, not just this really awesome company with, I think, this really great, awesome product, the 3-in-1 plant guard, but they also have a YouTube channel and teach many great lessons, and really another place to get introduced to all sorts of really great people doing awesome things in the garden industry. So great again to have you here with us, Charles. So tell me just a little bit more about some of the things that you've got growing on here at IV Organic this year.
So IV Organic started off as a company specializing in a gardening concept that most people take for granted, known as whitewashing. And whitewashing, just as you would do in construction to lighten your bricks or lighten your flooring, so simply lightening it. And when it comes to gardening, adds tremendous value to your plants. IV Organic came out with this product over here called the IV Organics 3-in-1 plant guard. This was our first product that we brought to market about 9 years ago now. And with it, we have been whitewashing organically trees, starting with citrus and avocados, which seem to be the most sensitive and prone to sunburn damage. But then it continued to virtually all plants, including your apples and your peaches and your plums, but also your tomatoes and your peppers and your squash and your roses, any of your ornamentals. Virtually all plants can benefit from whitewashing. And again, it started off as just whitewashing your tree trunks to protect those trees that you plant in spring. And the gardening concept that most commercial orchards will say is the day you plant your tree is the day you whitewash your tree, because those plants that were once in the garden center and they're protecting one another's tree trunks by being so clustered and clumped together. Once they go to your home garden, they're now, or in the orchard of the commercially, they're now standing alone, and they're exposed to, as I'm here today, and it's finally warm down here in Southern California. For those of you that are down here and dealing with these nonstop rains this year so far. But here I am baking in the sun. And again, still the temperature is nice and cool. But within the next upcoming month or two, those tree trunks are going to be exposed to 14 long, hot hours of sun. And now, in addition to offering them proper fertilizer and mulching and pruning and doing all the right stuff, your plant will still exhibit stress because they're burning. And plants, just like people, can suffer first, second, and third degree burns. And I've demonstrated on the Ivory Organics YouTube channel showing what plant burn looks like. And by whitewashing your plants, now your plants can breathe a sigh of relief when you whitewash those tree trunks, or even use it as a total plant diluted foliar spray. You can light and curb the weather extremes, offer also insect and rodent repellent protection. And now your plants will thrive. They'll bloom more, they'll fruit more, they'll perform a lot better being whitewashed. And again, this is a gardening concept that has been introduced thousands of years ago. And most traditional methods would be either using limestone or clay and just brushing it on the tree or spraying it on the plant. But Ivory Organics has come up with a way that is about as long lasting as using paint, but without the toxicity of putting a latex or tar-based product that is also non-breathable and blocks the pores and can actually, I mean, most of those products are also have algicides and fungicides that damage plant health too, yet they still use it. So Ivory Organics has come up again with an all organic, OMRI certified for commercial organic orchards and backyard growers that want to grow the healthiest plants.
Awesome. Yes, that's really great. And again, one of those things I tell everybody each and every week, the plant guard is really something. I think that's one of the great things about your product. I really believe that this is one of those essential products that you have, that every gardener everywhere should have at least a can of this in their garden shed at the ready. And tell me a little bit more though too about the product. How does it work? I mean, I see you got a little can there. You also you have a little spray bottles as well. Talk a little bit about how you kind of put that together, how that works.
So the product comes in a can. There is no water added to it. So it comes with the base powder, as well as the yellow label comes with 7 natural oils, which include cinnamon, garlic, clove, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. The 7 natural oils that are natural insect and rodent repellent protecting oils. And then you can add water to this can to have a can of paint that you can then brush onto the tree trunk. And I wish I could turn the camera and actually share with you. There's an espalier apple tree over here. And in the class, someone asked if since the apple tree is espalier and all the branches are exposed to like maximum amount of light with just minimal leaves and minimal fruit, how many years do we need to continue whitewashing the tree? And the answer is like indefinitely. Those branches are continuously exposed to excessive amounts of light, and year after year, you're going to have to monitor and basically protect those branches from those first, second, and third degree sunburn issues. So that is the can, which again, you can just add water to make the brush on, or you can dilute it to make up to 22 to 25 spray bottles. This is where you can now whitewash and protect the entire plant structure, including, again, your tomatoes, peppers, squash. Anything you start in the garden, you can now whitewash and protect the entire plant structure, and offer, again, curbing those weather extremes while also offering insect and rodent repellent protection. I got some sunshade protection as well just now.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty needed today. I see it is really bright out there for sure. Yeah. So really, really easy application, really easy product to use for sure. And not only do you guys have this really essential 3-in-1 plant guard, I say, but you also have a fertilizer that you guys sell as well too. I want to talk just a little bit about your fertilizer and how it stands a little bit apart from the other fertilizers folks see on the market.
So we just had dozens of people in this last class over here at Orange Homegrown, and we were discussing, and this is, again, the reason we jumped in also the fertilizer business and offer a product that's superior to about 95% of the other products that are out there. And I was asking the audience, and they're all growers. And again, I've even taught at nurseries with people with decades of experience. And I'm like, what are the plant macronutrients? And everybody says 3. And I'm like, okay, so there's 3 primary nutrients, but there's more macronutrients, which are elements that plants need in abundance. And I even said you can even Google this. And this is kind of what, as we're doing our research, I'm like, how come none of the information out there is communicating to the audience the macronutrients, which are, again, the elements that plants need in abundance in order to properly flower, fruit, and grow and thrive and do well? And the answer, just to let you know, is that it's 6. Everybody in the audience wants to keep saying 3. And even again, at the garden centers, 3. And most packaging only highlight 3 macronutrients, but that's only half the story. The 3 that everybody knows and it comes to mind is your NPK. Your element N on the periodic table stands for nitrogen and helps the plants with the greening and growth. And then you got phosphorus, letter P, and that is for the flowering and the fruiting of the plant. And then element K also helps with the root development, disease resistance. There's some overlap between the P and the K also in regards to function. And then there's 3 more macronutrients. Again, elements that plants should have in abundance include magnesium, which is the heart of the chlorophyll molecule. Then you've got sulfur, which is also important for the greening and metabolic processes of the plant. And then there's what is considered, I think, between 20 and 30% of the weight of the plant is calcium. It's in the cell walls of the plant. So if you're lacking on any of these macronutrients, your plant's not going to perform to its optimal ability. So the Ivory Organics all-purpose fertilizers, which I have here, there's a yellow bag, and then there's the blue bag. The yellow one is our super blend, and then there's the premium blend. The super blend, both of them have all 6 plant macronutrients, which are, again, your NPK, MG, SCA. The yellow one has plus azomite, which is simply crushed volcanic rock to offer your plants a lot of the micronutrient nutrition as well. And together, again, you've got a product that's going to care for your plants organically. These are also OMRI certified for, organic commercial orchards, but ideally for the backyard grower, growing the best organic plants, whether it be your ornamentals or your edibles, that you're doing it right and with minimal impact on the environment. And you're also improving the soil biology compared to the synthetic competing products that are out there that can damage the soil biology, not feeding the earthworms, damaging the beneficial bacteria, damaging that mycorrhizal network that exists below hopefully your mulching layers that you have in your garden. And again, these products are to basically cooperate with your soil biology and result in just the happiest plants this growing season.
Right on, right on. Awesome. Some really great stuff there too. Again, also one of the things I like to mention and be sure to mention to everybody about Ivy Organic, again, a really great sponsor. You guys really been really awesome with us for this last year. But one of the things too is that your company is a family company. This is a company ran by you and your wife, and you got your kids involved too with things. I just think that's one of the things that's really wonderful about what you guys do there at Ivy Organics is, working together as a family to build something that's really great. Like I said, keeping an eye on, those really natural organic things that we need to be doing in our garden and providing people with some really great knowledge as well too. You can check out down below in the description. There's a link to the Ivy Organic YouTube channel where you're going to get tons and tons of great informative lessons in gardening and orcharding and all sorts of different things as well too. Anything you've got new coming up this year? Anything that's happening this year that you want to talk about or promote or let people know about?
No, I appreciate the question. As you mentioned with YouTube and the family, yes, we did. And we still are a family business. Obviously, the family is more involved in the initial years. We're now in year number 9, this year, 2024. And we're proud to share, since we brought our products to market about 9 years ago, within a few years, thanks to you and other people with networks that we collaborate with successfully, we've quickly grown to become America's leading garden product YouTube channel. We're proud to share we've just recently surpassed 200,000 subscribers, again, ahead of all the other gardening products you'll find on shelves across America. And that, we're averaging about 5 to 20,000 daily views. And again, it all comes from the love and the support and again, just all the success stories, that we've enjoyed with other people that have an audience. And again, it all starts with like what we did here today in the Orange Homegrown Educational Center, is just educating, a small group and then just growing it because everybody knows someone. And I've really enjoyed your gardening channel and the live podcast and bringing a huge amount of talent to your platform on a weekly basis, and just connecting us all with them. And we truly appreciate all that you've done for us.
I appreciate that too. It's all, it's all mutual. And it's one of the things I mentioned at the top of the show. If you're here and a part of the gardening community, you're a part of one of the greatest communities that there is in all of social media, all of everything out there. Everybody is just such wonderful people. And you've always expressed that to me since the very beginning. And I'll just end real quick here with a quick little story about how I first met Charles. I literally had a channel that was just, I don't know. I think maybe I barely was touching 300 subscribers on my channel. I was having fun, and I was down in Los Angeles trying to do a few videos with some people. And one of the people I was doing or going to have an interview with or talk to kind of canceled last minute on me. And so I was like, so I called up Charles real quick and I said, hey, you want to meet me up for a little interview? And man, Charles came out there right away. You did such an awesome job. You treated me like I was, a channel with 1 million subscribers, and that's just kind of, one of the main reasons why I think it's just really, awesome to be able to continue this collaboration with you is that, you run a really great company. You're a really great person. And, all of the people I know that I've met, and I've met tons of people who, have, worked with you and all of that, who say exactly the same thing. And I'm just really, really glad to have you all back again for this growing season as our sponsor for the show. And I thank you again for all of your support.
Thank you, Enoch. And I've really enjoyed watching your growing successes from day to day and year to year, and hoping we can continue alongside for many more decades to come.
Awesome. That's really, really great. And again, too, go check out Ivy Organics in the link down below, and go check out their YouTube channel as well. And we'll be checking with Charles later on in the year.
To share your promo code also with your audience.
Absolutely. We already did. We hit that up already.
I just don't see it.
Awesome, Charles.
Wonderful.
Thanks again for joining with us today. Really awesome to have you.
Thank you, Enoch. Take care, all, and happy gardening.
Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible feature visits. Awesome. Excellent. We're having a great show so far. Thank you all so much for joining with me today. And we got Nate coming up here in just a couple more minutes for all of you and the Viking crew who've been joining in with us here today in the comments section. And real quick, before we do that, let's check back in with Sarah from sarahseedshop.com on today's garden trivia. All right, Sarah, here we are. How's it going?
Going great. Enjoying the show so far.
All right. So when we left you last, you left us with the question, which common cool weather garden plant group includes vegetables such as broccoli, cauliflower, and kale? And everybody had the choice of A, curcubits, B, nightshades, C, alliums, D, brassicas. So what is the answer to this week's garden trivia?
Well, I was looking in the comments and it looks like just about everyone got the right answer. The answer
we're
is
trying to keep it easy, right?
yep. Good to go easy for the first show.
That's right.
So yeah, brassicas, as we mentioned, broccoli, cauliflower, kale are some of the common ones. Some other vegetables in the brassica family are turnips, collard greens, radishes. There's a whole bunch of different ones.
Yeah.
Right now is actually a great time to plant these cool weather vegetables in a lot of regions. So if if you all want to get some great brassica seeds, head on over to Sarah's Seed Shop. We've got a lot of different varieties of brassicas and lots of other seeds as well. So head on over and check us out.
Be having some audio issues. So, all right. Awesome, though. Excellent, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining with us. And catch Sarah each and every week here for our garden trivia segment. And be sure to check out sarahseedshop.com, where she offers you some really awesome seeds. And again, we like supporting nice family businesses, small businesses, and all that sort of stuff here on the Let's Get Growing channel. Sarah offers, really, I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed at all. 75 cents for a seed packet, and you're going to get tons of seeds. I mean, 3-4 times the amount of seeds, maybe even more than what you're going to get in a regular seed packet. She stocks up all of those essential seeds that you want in your garden, all of those organic, non-GMO seeds. So again, thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us for the garden trivia this week, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Oh, sorry. I still got you there. Got to remove Sarah. I knew I was going to do that at some point in the show here. It's not, we got a lot of different little buttons and things to push in order to get things going just right, in order to do all of this and bring in everybody and everything. And I knew I was going to flub one of those buttons eventually, but it's all a part of what doing the show here. So right on. So again, too, thank you all so much for joining with me. We got tons of you in here joining with us for the show. Lots of great conversation going on in the comments section too. I think that's one of the things I really love about these live streams is everybody, not only, conversating with us or asking questions or leaving comments for us, but the interaction that you all get to have with each other during the live streams. That what makes these live streams really, really cool. And again, thank you all so much for joining with us here. Okay. Let's see. We got folks like Heather Fox joining with us. Hey, Nate, afternoon, Vikings. All right. And let's see here. We got folks like, let's see, Muddy Paws again with us. Big West Lawn Care. Thanks for joining with us. AK Froggy. Greetings, fellow Vikings. Again, too, I want to thank you all so much, for joining with me and coming over here today for our show. Lots of you guys are from the Viking crew, Nate's channel there. And, Nate has just a really wonderful, awesome channel, and just really awesome to our channel as well, too. And so it's really great to have you all here to join in with the conversation that we're having here today. Nate's episode last year, we kind of ran into a little bit of an audio issue when it came down to it, but it was still a really fun conversation. It was really, really informative. Nate really knows a lot of really great things about gardening. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I spend my morning as I'm preparing for the show, listening to Nate's Saturday morning live stream as I'm getting everything ready for everybody here. So So I get to enjoy Nate every single week before I get started with this show. So it's really great to be able to have him back here on the show. So without further ado, let's get started with our featured guest segment.
You never know when you might learn something, and that's what this is about for me. These are people that I admire. Please welcome my next guest.
That did not go like I was hoping it would. Again, first show jitters anyways. Anyways, let's welcome our featured guest from Garden Like a Viking, Nate Murray. Awesome, Nate. Awesome.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Okay, my friends. Hello. Good to see everybody. Whoa. Not hearing me.
You got mute on or something. Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Uh-oh. Again, audio issues.
Okay. I'm hearing myself.
I can kind of hear you there.
Uh-oh. Okay, let's see. How about now?
Everybody says they can hear you. It must be my end or something. Let me see what I got going on.
How about now?
Oh, my.
Yeah, well, my tribe knows all about the sound checks, and they know that the sound on live streams is tough, guys. It's tough, so you just got to bear with us. But okay, it says loud and clear. Oh, my mom's in the chat. Hi, Mom. It says, okay, everyone says I can hear both well. I hear loud and clear. Yep, sounds like loud and clear.
Must be the feed coming through for me, but I can hear you a little bit here now.
Okay.
As long as I can hear you and everybody else is hearing us fine, I think we'll be all right.
Yes. All right. So, guys, what's going on? How's the channel? How is the season is just coming? It sounds like you can't hear me, but hey, it's okay. Here we go.
All right.
Everyone says, okay. Freebird says, look, she says, Nate, hi, Nate's mom. You did such a great job raising an awesome man. Thank you, Freebird. I know my mom likes to hear that.
Right on. Mom's in the crowd. That's awesome.
That's right. Yeah. That's what I love about this community, guys, is that everyone is so supportive. The Viking tribe is so supportive, but also when I'm like, hey, guys, there's someone in the gardening community that's doing something that is not done. No one else is doing this kind of thing. Let's show him our support. And immediately, a bunch of people come over, and this is
amazing.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. That's why I like the gardening community is some of the best on YouTube for sure. I mean,
yeah,
the lowest amount of,
and I just kind of repeated just a little bit ago is that, if you're in the gardening community and if you're part of this show or part of your show, you're part of one of the just greatest communities on social media.
Absolutely.
There's so many other communities that just are really, they're nitpicky and all the stuff that you get on social media in some places and in some crowds, but you just don't find that in the gardening community. You just find so many awesome, wonderful people. And again, too, very supportive people like yourself. And that's why I really wanted to bring you back again for our very first show. I mean, when you guys came on, this last year, again, the Viking crew following you right along and just love it, man. And you guys all come in here, give us a great audience, great conversation, and all of that. So really, really awesome. Val said, we are a great tribe.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's amazing the stuff that I share with the community, like the Viking tribe. They know a really intimate, detail about myself. I mean, it's really an incredible relationship that you establish with the community through the Discord chat, through the live chats, and all of that. I feel like I know all these people, from all over the world. It's just wonderful. And like the Big Will Dog says, got to look out for each other. That's how the world is supposed to work. Absolutely. Thank you, my friends.
Armin actually mentions about about what we were saying about the garden or other communities, and says it's because we are so used to disagreement in the gardening community. We just go with it, right? I think, that's one of the things about gardening. There's just so many, methods, trials, ways of doing things. Some people do things that are traditional and work for them, and other people are doing new things and trying different stuff. And there's all sorts of ways and directions to go, with it that, it creates for a larger community. And then again, too, if, we're just sharing things, and if we're just looking to encourage people to be able to grow better, to grow more food for themselves, then, that's just really the ultimate goal.
Oh, absolutely. And I like how the tribe, as the tribe grows, then your knowledge base grows, because the things that I say are just from my life experience, my personal life experience and doing things. But there's lots that I don't know. And so the more people that's in the tribe, especially knowledgeable people, then I can reach out to them. I can say, well, I'm not really sure. People will ask me about certain plants I've never grown before. I say, well, I don't really know enough, but I can ask them, and surely somebody always knows. Someone has experience with it.
Yeah,
so that's what's great.
That's really the basis of all of this for me. One of the things I'm always really upfront with people about is that, I've got, well over a decade or more of urban small space gardening experience myself. But man, I probably only know this much of everything I should know. You know what I mean? So that's what makes this awesome, to be able to bring on folks like yourself and other guests that we've had on our show, is to be able to get that other perspective, to be able to, tap into some further knowledge from other folks, so that not only am I able to learn more, but everybody else who's watching can learn just a little bit more about what they're growing as well.
Absolutely. I'm reading the chat here. I'm not like on my phone, but I'm just reading the chat. You guys are funny. Muddy paws. Yeah, it's funny. So
oh yeah, here you go. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That people give me a hard time about that, but hey, it is what it is. I had to run and make a cup of tea because we just got done with a big long live Q&A, but now we're about to talk about something else. So gotta get that tea.
That's right. We gave you just a little bit of a break between your show and our show. And I was mentioning to everybody else is that, I'm getting here and I'm getting prepared for my show. I've got to get our, the final banners. I got to, the little small details, the last minute details I got to get finished up before the show. So I have your live stream playing every week. And I listen along and kind of follow along with the chats best I can and all of that as I'm getting everything prepared. So Nate's with me every week on more than
nice.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Good to hear, my friend.
Absolutely. See the thundering slurp through the halls of Valhalla's greenhouse.
These guys are funny. I know. Yeah,
that's great.
I'm glad everyone here. So So does anyone have any questions? What are we gonna start off with?
First of all, let's kind of, I know most everybody's here and kind of has a little bit of a knowledge about you, but I know we got a few other people from that as well too. So let's kind of reintroduce Nate to everybody real quick. Tell me just a little bit more about you, where you're from, and kind of what got you started on this whole gardening journey.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm from the Corn Belt. From northern Indiana, where oceans of corn and soybean are grown, on a really the industrial ag type growing. So I didn't really grow up with like gardening and stuff like that. So I when I was about 22, I left my hometown and I went traveling throughout the world. I spent a lot of time in India and Thailand, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, and Nepal, all these places for a long time. And I saw all these different ways of doing things, all the different ways of growing things from people that their lives depend on it. It's very different in India, in the villages, and in Thailand, in the back villages and things. The people there they're not growing because it's a relaxing hobby. They're growing because their life depends on it, because they eat, because they're hungry. That's why that's what drives them. And so they come up with all these different clever ways of doing things, and they just make it work. And so I was really fortunate to be able to see and travel to see all of these things. And then a couple years into my travels, I met somebody from Northern California, and they were working in the cannabis industry. And so I that spiked my interest. And so I went out there when I came back from the travels. And that is really, so once I found that industry out there and that way of life and that world out there, I immediately became enthralled and obsessed with it. And so I would travel for some time in the off season, but then I would come back for about 6 to 8 months and work in Northern California. And that's when I really got to experiment and got to learn and got to pick people's brains and got to try the latest techniques and all this kind of stuff. It was such a nurturing environment for that kind of thing. And then so I would travel in the off season, but then in the last 4 years of my time there, I was there full time, and I was in charge of a somewhat large scale commercial operation. And so I was pulling the levers and everything, and it all came down to me. It was like what I call really high stakes gardening. And so that is what really drove home a lot of these skills. And I was able to experiment and to learn and to read books and to talk to people. So, and then we were way off grid during these times. We were way off grid. So we were growing our own food, raising the livestock, all the good stuff. And once the spirit of the land got in me, that was it. Yeah. So then I came back, because the life out there had to go. And I came back to my hometown, and then boom, all these skills now and all these different ways of doing things and all this knowledge that I had acquired, I was just compelled to start a YouTube channel. It was like, man, you need to share this with the people. Right. So that's what happened. Now here we are.
Yeah. I'm so glad you did too. And I've followed lots of YouTube channels. I've followed tons and tons of YouTube channels over the years. And I can't remember exactly what it was or how I ended up landing onto your channel to begin with, but it was when you were probably just a few months into starting the channel. And I have to say, though, I don't think I've ever really seen a channel just grow like yours has. I mean, you've got such a great community. You built such a really awesome thing. And it's just so great to see somebody come on with such great, useful information to be able to translate that very well to people and then be able to also really grow a really great community around what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And I think that I attribute a lot of that to the fact that I do not put out any information that I can't put my stamp on, that I don't have experience with. And I see this a lot in a lot of YouTube channels that will kind of parrot information that they may have just heard or they may have been doing for the first time. But all the stuff, I made it a point that anything that I put out, I know works and based upon life experience. And so that is, I feel like, a foundation. And then treating each person that comes into the tribe with respect and giving them the time. I'm very responsive to the comments, although now we're at the point where there's just so many comments. I can't respond to everything, of course. But as much as I can, I mean, I spend an hour a day or more just focusing on replying to comments and stuff like that. So because that's really important to me, because they take their time to express gratitude and stuff. And so we exchange time and energy. It's just it's a wonderful medium. This technology.
It really is. It really is. I've been just, again, too, really fortunate to be able to have kind of that, my little small community around me very similarly. And you also touched on something I think is really important too, when it comes down to it, is to speak to experience. I say I follow tons and tons of channels, and I know and I see some of those folks who are basically just reading out of a garden book and then throwing a video together. I know some very big channels who do that sort of thing as well too. You know what I mean? And I knew early on, if I was going to take on this whole YouTube gardening adventure or anything like that, is I didn't want to be disingenuous like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of why I kind of talk about it from the beginning is, I only know so much, and I've got some experience. I know some stuff. I know, you know what I mean? I've got information to share with people about small space, urban gardening, container gardening, these sort of things that I think is very useful. But there's a ton for me to learn. And so I don't want to be putting out things that I'm not completely knowledgeable about, which makes this sort of thing really great, because there's other folks who do have that knowledge. And if I can't give it to you, I want to introduce you to someone who does.
Yeah.
That's what the community is about. That's what we're about.
Right, definitely. It's all about sharing the knowledge, and
Mhm.
I feel it like when I was living off grid for those years and doing this thing. I call it the spirit of the land. It just got in me. The spirit of the land got in me, in the sense that when you're living like in the redwood grove and stuff, and there's no electricity, and you're just
Yeah,
learning these skills of growing and things and
yeah,
sustaining life with food. The pace of your life slows down, and so you really get to feel how the earth sort of breathes and moves, and the systems, that everything
yeah.
comes in cycles. And so
Mhm.
you can see and you can feel the seasons. You feel the seasons more than like when we live indoors and we have heating and air conditioning. When you're off grid outdoors, you feel the change in the seasons,
Yeah.
and the things that happen with the birds and the trees and the insects. It's just amazing. And so that touched me so deeply that that's never left. And so
Mhm.
now it's just all about I just feel compelled to share all this stuff, but it's not like me. It's the spirit of the earth wanting to
Mhm.
heal itself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, through gardening, we are really truly uh, creating a relationship with the earth.
Oh,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a relationship. It's mutual. You know, we give each other things and make, you know what I mean, in order to, prosper. And one of the words you love to use on your channel all the time, thrive.
that's right. That's right. Definitely. And people often ask me, okay, so where do we start? Like, what are the fundamentals? And there a lot of people will be like, okay, well, you want this soil, and you want to get your soil test, and they'll go into the functionality of it. But my whole philosophy, I want to take a step back, and you have to get the philosophy right. You have to get your
Mhm.
mind right, the way that you're viewing the cycles of nature.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. When you can understand things like the fact that on this life support system that we have, this earth, that life is in direct proportion to the amount of death and decay that has happened in a
Yep.
place. And so
Mhm.
life comes from the death.
Yeah.
It is a cycle. And so we have to see these kind of things, and then we work with these systems instead of viewing ourselves as being separate from all of this.
Hmm.
And and so that's
Yeah.
how far back it has to go.
It kind of makes me think about, when someone was trying to explain to me about soil. I was trying to digging into some soil science, and they were like, if you could get down to the size of a microbe or a nematode or something like that, and you get into soil, what you would see is probably one of the most gruesome things you've ever seen in your life. Just
Right.
the death and destruction, the wars going on, and this and that, as things are always constantly trying to keep in balance.
Right.
All these sort of things are happening, and it's in all of that that we sustain life,
That's right.
that all of our plants thrive, our root systems thrive, all of that sort of stuff is right there in all of this. I think that's just a really interesting perspective to have when you're looking at, gardening and your connection with the earth.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I looked deeply at that those years ago, and still now, of course, it just gets deeper and deeper. But when I look at that system, what I once felt was like a war for survival, like a war is going on, battles, microorganisms, and nature is battling. But then the deeper that I've looked, and the more that the spirit has come through, that I see there's no battle. It's just a dance. It's a beautiful dance, a never-ending flow of energy, and it's all replenishing itself. I mean, the earth
Yeah.
itself as the living organism.
Hmm.
So it still takes my breath away when I look deeply at nature like this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And one of the things that you mentioned too, and you talk about in your videos and your live streams and things like that, that maybe you can kind of, kind of talk a little bit more, kind of get into a little bit here with us today is you talk about mimicking nature.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We definitely. I talk about that a lot. But I mean, the foundation is that, like what we said, you have to look at the cycles, and then we have to mimic nature. And so we can see that nature doesn't separate the processes like the human mind does. The human mind wants to separate and dissect all these processes. Okay, you add in P and K, and you add in during the growth. P and K have to be for afterwards, and then there's timing, and you can induce fruiting and flowering and all this stuff. Nature never separates these cycles. These
Yeah.
processes are all one. And so nature provides a balanced fertilizer all the time, so that everything that the plant wants is there when it wants it. And that's the key. And so the key is understanding that you as the gardener don't grow anything. It's a misconception. We say, well, I'm growing these plants, or I'm going to make the plants flower or something. But that's not true at all. The truth is that all you can do is to ensure that all the conditions necessary are there in the right quantity, so that the plant can grow itself. That's what happens. The plant grows itself. And so you provide all of the conditions that are necessary. And so what does that mean by mimicking nature?
Yeah.
That means that we look and we see that nature doesn't crop rotate. Nature doesn't separate N, P, and K, bloom cycle from growth cycle. Nature doesn't till the land. Nature mines nutrients from the ground. The roots, the plants mine the nutrients from the ground, store them in their leaves and their fruits for some time, and then they fall to the earth and they decompose. And then year after year, season after season, those plants custom tailor the nutrients for that exact plant, because it doesn't go anywhere. Some of the fruits and seeds go places because of birds and animals and wind and all that, but most of the plants operate like this. And so the stuff is not, the organic matter is not tilled into the earth. It falls on top of the earth in the fall time. And so we mimic these cycles. So we use balanced fertilizers that have all the N, P, and K and Cal and Mag and all that stuff all within itself in balanced quantities. And we apply compost and organic matter at the end of the season to the top of the soil. And year after year like this, we just get a beautiful, beautiful result. Yeah. So that's what I mean by mimicking nature.
Okay, here real quick. We're going to jump in and get to some questions I've been kind of highlighting here real quick. So we will get to some of those questions. I want to let everybody know real quick, just because it's kind of right on what we're talking about. Wickershire asks, is nature's typical NPK balance a 3-1-2 ratio each year in ideal situation? About that?
Well, I mean, that's debatable. You know, nature's typical NPK balance. And so in NPK, the whole entire concept of NPK has been bred into us from the chemical fertilizer companies, because that you have to know what NP and K is when you're using chemical fertilizers. But nature, there's a difference between what is testable and what is plant available. And so regardless of how many, no matter how much, and my viewers already know this, but no matter how much organic matter or compost or leaf mold or manure that you put into the soil, not one drop of it goes directly to the plant until it has passed through the soil food web. And so bolstering the microorganisms is what matters the most. Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely. And one other thing too, you know, this is something that maybe I've kind of looked in just a little bit, but I don't necessarily have that much great knowledge with. And I would love if you could just kind of expound on one of the methods that you talk about a lot on your videos and your live streams is JDOM. This is something you've learned through your world travels, I think you mentioned. So what really is, and I think this kind of ties into what we were talking about a little bit, what is JDOM?
Yeah, so the JDOM system is essentially exactly what we've been talking about. It's essentially the way of nature. And so I don't subscribe to any particular system, not JDOM, not Korean natural farming, not regenerative. It's all those systems combined. It's the way of the earth. And so the JDOM really is designed by Young-Sung Chow in Korea. It's a system that people can have. And it's designed specifically for like market gardening, intensive market gardening. You know, that kind of thing. And so it's essentially utilizing crop residues, utilizing, you know, strawberries to make the fertilizer for strawberries. It's utilizing the same philosophies. That's exactly what we're talking about. So in the JDOM, what really sets it apart, though, is that everything is made by hand, pretty much. That you most of the stuff is free, you know, which is great, and it's made by ourselves. And so yeah, it's mimicking nature. I mean, it's a wonderful system.
Yes, awesome, excellent, thank you. Let's see here. Let's check back. We've got.
Yeah, my people are definitely used to the questions getting answered all the time. I love their questions. I just answer. I love I love them.
P. Hendricks asked, should we be saving their seed? Oh, I thought you were saying saving seeds, but I guess, yeah, we should be saving seeds, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We should be saving seeds. Remember, though, guys, peppers are the things that will cross pollinate. You will end up with different peppers. It will be a dismay trying to save if you grow different kinds of peppers. You know, they're the number ones. But definitely, we want to be saving seeds.
Yeah, definitely. Peppers are the ones, and that's why those pepper people in the pepper community have so much fun, is they can play around with those plants and create all these fun new little pods and heat levels and all that sort of stuff. So you got to be careful if you're saving seeds of those types of things, you know, some of your squash and, you know, those sort of things as well too, you know, that are going to be really easily kind of cross-pollinated. You know, you want to kind of be a little more aware of, but there's tons of different things that you can save seeds from, or in some senses, not even just save seeds. One of the things I do, Nate, is I just let them go to seed, throw it out, and then I see what comes up the next year. I get tons of lettuce doing that. I've got tomatoes that volunteer for me every year. You know, I get tons of stuff, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you're in Oregon, right?
Southern Oregon, yeah.
Southern Oregon, yeah. And that's
So
a really
just about
nice
20 minutes from the California border there.
Oh wow, okay, not far. I was in Southern Humboldt, is where I was growing for a long time.
Yeah, we weren't too far from each other.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful growing zone. In Northern Indiana, we don't get a lot of volunteer plants.
Let's see. We got another question. Was from OK Froggy.
Big West says the Rodney Dangerfield shirt is boss. Thanks. That's a good way to put it.
Let's see. Froggy asks, how about radishes? Here they either fail to bulb up or bolt and produce an incredible fibrous lump. We have 24-hour daylight in the summer. What am I doing wrong?
Wow. Okay. I think you're in Alaska, right? Yes. Probably it's either gets too hot, you need to shade them out, or they're too nutrient rich. The soil's too nutrient rich. So that's generally it's when that happens with radishes, when they bolt, it's because the distance between the maximum high and the maximum low temperature is too great, and that's what sends them to bolt. Not necessarily just the heat. But it's that when the days are like 85 or 90 and the nights are 48 or something like that. If you get that in Alaska, that can definitely do it. So I would put some shade cloth over it. Definitely.
That's some good advice too. Another thing too is we just mentioned seed saving. Radishes are kind of one of my favorites in this thing. You know, I'll grow a bunch of different radishes and I'll always leave. I think, and again too, when you're seed saving, this is probably one of my other biggest pieces of advice, is always save seed from your best. Take from your best. So I leave my best looking radishes in my garden beds, and then I let those bolt and start to produce seed, because here's one of the other things: you can get a whole nother harvest of the seed pods. Now you get those young seed pods from radishes, and they are so delicious. Get a bunch of those, toss those into a salad. You are going to love it. I'm telling you.
I've actually not eaten the seed pods like that.
Yes. So absolutely, let them go and get them young, just like nice young peas. If you're eating them fresh off of the plant or anything like that, get them nice and young, nice and soft before the seeds get to form nice and hard, and then you harvest those. And then I get a big old harvest of those, and I collect those up, and then I leave some of those as well too.
There you go.
Big fat looking pods that are looking like they're going to be really healthy, and then I let those go. And then I get another harvest off of the radishes by saving my seeds that'll produce my radishes the next year.
Yeah, that's how it's done.
I'll tell you one real quick story though too as well. I love French breakfast radishes. Those are probably one of my favorite varieties. And I grew some one year, and I had this one that I set aside. It was one of my best ones. I let it there, and I wanted it to bolt, and it didn't. It wouldn't bolt. And we're talking about getting up into the 110s around here during the summertime. And this radish was just baking in the sun like it was no problem. And it was like it was going to the gym, Nate. I mean, literally, it was like it was out there when I wasn't watching pumping weights, because it was just getting ripped and just getting big. And by the next spring and summer is when it finally bolted and finally went to seed. It took well over a year for this thing to get to seed. And the radish was this big. I kid you not.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
this big and just
Super
burly.
fibrous. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Super fibrous. Yeah. You don't want to be eating that
Don't be
radish
eating
for
that.
sure.
No, it'd be like
But
fire
no,
in the mouth.
it did finally produce some seeds for me and everything too. We grew those and grew great. And we did get great radishes from those seeds as well too. But I just thought that was, one of those funny kind of unique experiences we get to see in nature and in the garden too. Because sometimes, things don't do what necessarily you think they're going to do.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. And there was, and that leads into like a question I saw somebody here, because I'm watching the chat as well. That somebody was like, yeah, so we're fine with plants crossing, and that maybe that will produce better plants for us. And with many things that can be true, definitely.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about, you want to save the seeds, and I've made videos about this as well. You want to save from the best of the best, because you want to pass on those genetics the best, and they will eventually adapt to your area. And so things like the cucurbits and stuff, someone said, I was told not to save cucurbit seeds. No, you can save all that stuff. I mean, I do, and I have for years. And the winter squash and stuff. Yes, my Tahitian melon squash have actually definitely crossed with a couple of the other butternut family squashes that I've had. But that just produces a plant that now we had 2 Tahitian melon squash plant vines. That was it, just 2. And we got like hundreds of pounds of melon squash from this thing.
Wow, nice.
And so it's just so adapted to this area, and the tomato. So I recommend that. But first and foremost is save the healthiest seed and let it go as far as possible. People want to save seed from things that they would harvest at the point when they would eat it, but that's not how nature does it. Nature does it. Again, we mimic nature. And so we see that always nature will let the fruit go super ripe until it falls to the ground. And then when it falls to the ground, it has everything that it needs. The tomato, for example, when it falls to the ground, nature has supplied those seeds with everything that they need for the best possible start in life. And so, and it's the decomposing tomato. And so it's the same with all of the other plants as well.
Yes, indeed. Dan Henry jumped in and asked there too on pollination. Does the squash cross pollination affect the taste? I think he kind of was touching on that there, huh?
Yeah, a little bit, but not in a way. It's not like peppers. Peppers are the only thing that will just be bland and just nasty. They just won't have any flavor. But the squash and stuff, oh yeah, I mean, it can be a wonderful thing. So you can have things that are like regionally adapted to your area if you've grown them several years. Yeah, so cross-pollinating is not inherently a bad thing at all, unless you're like some genetic, expert or seed saver or something, unless you're selling the seeds. But other than that, no, most things can just let them cross-pollinate. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, some natural ones are great, and even in the pepper world, folks who grow and cross and develop different crosses and peppers, they like to find some of those natural crosses. They like to find some of those. That's where they find some of those really cool pod formations and getting those really interesting phenotypes out of those types of natural crosses. The only thing that is really to beware. I mean, save seeds from everything if you want. It's just there are some things that do just cross a lot easier, like peppers and those sort of things. And you just have to be aware that that's the possibility of what you're looking at is some sort of cross when your plant fully grows and comes to fruit.
Yep, that's right. Definitely. But so many people want to get stuff. I get this a lot. Hey Nate, I got some of this and this from the store, from just like a conventional store, and I want to save seeds and plant it. And a lot of times that just doesn't work, guys, because most of the things that you buy at the store are hybrids, and they're designed. They're not been stabilized. They're not even open pollinated. They're just straight up hybrids, and they will revert back to some bizarre genetics. You won't get what you want. So unless it's heirloom or it's organic, even then it can still be a hybrid. You want to get heirloom seeds. We want to support the heirloom movement, definitely.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Heirlooms, and I think even Sarah was mentioning in there open pollinated, and that's the thing too. Open pollinated is kind of where we're looking to have heirlooms are just open pollinated seeds that have been around maybe just a little bit longer, a traditional family story behind them, that
Right.
you pass down for generations and generations type of things. But definitely heirloom open pollinated seeds.
Yeah, definitely. Well, because the open pollinated, they're on their way to being an heirloom, but they're only, I think it's they're 6 generations out to where they're mostly stabilized. There's only a certain percentage that will actually revert back.
Yeah,
But
open
heirloom has
pollination.
been
Yeah,
right, and
it's just
heirloom has been
basically where stabilization's starting.
yes,
When you're
yes.
starting to look at open pollinated. Yeah.
That's right. Yep. And then once it's fully stabilized and the seed will produce the exact same thing, it's considered heirloom. Then yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Val had a question about Val had a question about the soil block, and I wanted to answer that because so many people
Here we are. I got you right here. What is
Okay.
it? Don't care for repotting, but might be easier with soil blocks, but it's an extra step. Am I being lazy?
Right. So guys,
I'll being lazy.
I actually don't repot much at all. I don't repot because you shouldn't be growing it up indoors that long. And so those tiny little, if it's the question of soil blocks, which I get a lot, those mess with those, because then you put those into the 2-inch block and then there's no need for all that. So I just start with the 2-inch block, and that's good for most things like your brassicas and stuff that's only going to spend 4 weeks or something inside. But the solo cup or the bootstrap farmer trays, like I've been showing to people, that's going to be plenty for like tomatoes and peppers for the whole time. I don't. If you're having to up pot, you started too early, in my experience. So no.
Okay. And then Sharon asked, kind of coming back onto what we were talking there, crossing, I guess, is can you grow pumpkin and melon in the same place?
Generally, you can. Yes, it's very rare and hard for a pumpkin and a melon, even though they're both in the same family. They're not like so you don't want to grow like a butternut squash and then Tahitian squash and then honey nut squash. Those are all like the butternut type, the real. But if something is just vaguely in the same family, cucurbits and stuff, then no, you'll be fine with that. You'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. Again, that was an experience I had actually a couple of seasons ago, as I grew all of my squash together in an area in our back alleyway here, and literally the vines are twisting up with each other. They're all just kind of intermingling and everything. And the seed that I saved that next year was, this weird funky looking thing. It matched nothing from what I was looking at, from what I grew the year before. So, those are, like I said, those are the sort of things you just got to be prepared for if you're going to be saving seeds under those types of conditions. If you're growing things in different areas, and one of the things too is kind of have them spread out in different places if you've got the space, because these are big plants. They're going to spread out. They're going to do that. So you give them plenty of their own space, and maybe have them in their own corners or something like that. And then at that point, you can be almost pretty assured of what you're going to get then.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And the best, I'll just say one more thing about the squash and then we'll move on. But the best of all squash and stuff is grown volunteers from the compost pile. How many of you know that? I mean, I got like a compost bin and stuff. And so either it's volunteer or I'll put 1 or 2 seeds and you grow it out of the bottom of the compost bin and you just let it climb all over the place. It's the healthiest plant in the garden. It's unbelievable. So I highly recommend that's a good use of space, and it will shade out the compost, the compost from the blazing hot sun.
Right on. Yes. And let's see here.
So did you have a question? Did you put a question up there? I couldn't tell.
No, it was just a comment there. Trying to pop up comments as well as we can here.
What's up, Creative
Here we
Soil?
go. Wickershire was asking a little bit ago too. I'm growing melons in aged manure compost with biochar and homemade roasted crushed bone meal. Can I skip on perlite since I have biochar? Is this redundant in the system?
Yes. You can skip on the biochar. I mean, you can skip on the perlite. Yeah, because the purpose of the perlite is to create air spaces within the soil mixture. And so if you are if it's in the ground and you have like the aged manure and then the biochar and then the crushed bone meal, that's going to be pretty much everything you need. Yeah. Now, if you are putting it, if it's in like a grow bag or something, I would still put in a little bit because you want plenty of aeration. You don't want that stuff to compact down together. But if it's in the ground, no need for that. Yeah.
Okay. And let's see here.
And Jerry had asked a question. I saw it. He asked about biochar. He said, "Is the type of wood that is required? Does that matter? You want to go with the hardwoods." The hardwood would be the best. Yes, because he's talking about making his own, which I haven't made a video about that yet, but we used to do that in the mountains. It's a very easy process, very. And yes.
What are some of your typical hardwoods you would use?
Well, around here, there it was like manzanita and live oak and stuff like that. Here, though, it would be oak, hickory. We've got all the hardwoods: oak, hickory, elm. No more ash, really. But yeah, oak, elm, and hickory are gonna make really good stuff. And instead of being the thick core wood, you want sticks. You want it to be as mostly sticks as possible. Yeah. The way that we did it in the mountains is we took 55-gallon drums and we put it on the ground and we stuffed it full of sticks about this size of the hardwood sticks, stuffed the whole thing full, and then put the lid on and locked it. So it has to be airtight. And then we essentially started a bonfire on top of it. We put all kinds of brush and boards and everything on top of it, and then lit that. It was a huge bonfire. And then the next day we came back and it's all pretty much turned into charcoal. Yeah. But a couple of times we had small holes. We had small holes in the drum, and everything burned completely to ash. So you want to make sure it's a fresh, new drum with no holes in it because air cannot get in there. So, but that's kind of advanced class stuff. So
advanced class. There you go.
That's right. That's right.
We'll definitely be looking out for the biochar videos for sure.
Definitely.
Let's see here. We had David was asking when sweet corns cross, are the seeds viable?
Oh, I should have been talking about that. Oh man, corn is the only one that will cross in the same season. That you will get it in the same season because corn is pollinated by the wind, and so there's the male part is up here, the tassel, and then the female part is the silks on the corn ear, and so each one of those silks is attached to a kernel, which is incredible, and so each silk has to get a grain of pollen on it. Otherwise, you'll open up your corn and you'll see a bunch of empty rows, and that's incomplete pollination. And because it's pollinated like that, if you plant like a glass gem flint corn next to a sweet corn, and they pollinate, you will get a messed up Frankenstein of both. So corn in the same season, definitely. So corn is another one. You only plant one kind of corn, and then you can save seeds from that.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
And then let's see here. Oh, kind of going back to the biochar thing here. Can you use pallet wood for making charcoal or biochar?
You can, yeah, if that's what you have. But try to find some hardwood pallets. That would make the best. You can use the pallet wood, yeah. Definitely look for the ones that say HT on it. Whenever you're using pallets for the garden, you want them to be the ones that are stamped with HT. That means heat treated. You don't want the ones that are chemically treated. And so it's very important that you get that. But yeah, you can still make biochar with softwoods. It's just a lot higher incidence of burning all up.
Yeah, definitely. And then Jennifer jumped in there and was asking thoughts on burning the garden before planting.
Good. Okay, I'm glad you picked that question out. Yes, that is a wonderful technique. And if you're late to the game, which is not really late, but if you're like right now and you didn't anticipate that you wanted to make a new garden plot or something, then the way to do it is to burn the plot. And people have done this for thousands of years. We used to call it slash and burn agriculture, which the name sounds horrendous, but it's actually wonderful. And the indigenous societies used to do this all the time. And they would cut down the vegetation in a certain area, let it all die down, and then burn it all in that area. And burning it would destroy the weed seeds, and it would fertilize everything, dramatically fertilize everything. And stuff grows really well for the next couple of years. And then after several years, just a few years of using that plot, then once the elders were like, okay, now is the time we have to move on, then they would create a new plot and they would let this one regrow for 10 years or more, and they would keep recycling it like that. So true slash and burn agriculture is very sustainable, very regenerative, very good for the land. And so in the garden, yes, the key is you just don't want it to get super blazing hot. You don't want to create like too hot of a fire, even though it'll be fine still. But the way to do it now is if you have brush or if you have leaves or something, rake it into the pile of the garden bed that you want, and then light it on fire and let it all burn. And let it burn, and then quench it with the hose. And then once the grass and weeds and everything are done and everything's fertilized, then we can put a layer of compost on top of that, or a layer of leaves on top of that. And then or just landscaping fabric. Burn holes in the fabric and plant right into underneath. So it's a really good method. Burn is a great method.
Spread it around a little.
That's right. Exactly. Yep. Spread them ashes around a little bit and water them in, because ashes are super water soluble. So you're going to water them in, and that's going to help fertilize the land. And then we'll put that landscaping fabric over it, or whatever kind of mulch you're using. You'll have a great garden.
Yeah, and a similar kind of sense too. There's also a method of flame weeding. What do you think about flame weeding for preparing your garden beds?
Absolutely. You're talking about with the weed torch in the propane tank?
Yeah, just torching it up.
I love that. I use it all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't come back. Yeah. Well, like
right.
fence lines and stuff. That's what I use. Driveways. That's what you use. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I'm looking into trying to do this year for our bigger garden plots. We have a little small kind of front yard farm plots that we set up over at my friend's place. He's got this just big corner lot. So we got these 2 big 20-foot by 40-foot plots, that we get to grow out of and everything. But
nice.
that's our goal this year, is to do some flame weeding and see if we can't push back some of that stuff as we're getting started.
Yeah, very good. And that's a good method to do. But I can know this from experience that once plants are in the ground, though, the flame is so intense that even if you're several feet away, the deflection can melt the other plants. So
right.
it's you have to be real careful.
Yes, definitely.
But when we're actually in the garden, pull most of the weeds if you can, or if you're using heavy mulch, just put more mulch over it. That's the best way to do it. Like try and pull it and then put more mulch over it. Or I use a solution of vinegar, of distilled vinegar and salt, and with a little bit of wetting agent. Yeah, which is just soap basically.
That's a really
you just spray it directly on them. So long as the sun's out, if you spray it directly on them, they will roast, and that will be it. I haven't yet. I'm going to make a video this year on my channel showing that.
Let's see. There was a question a little while back ago too. I want to get here real quick. Freebird was asking about, when do you plant the little nubs from garlic, summer or fall? I love this question because it's the way this one got me when I was first learning to garden. I was just so new. I didn't know anything. And, as a new gardener, we're just so excited. We learned to grow one thing the year before, and now we want to grow everything this next year. And this was one of the big learning curves I had to learn when it came to garlic. I mean, I was literally growing garlic like in these little trays, with the little
cell packs,
the little cells, yes, and putting like little cloves into it. Thinking when I first, this is how bad I had to. This is how much I had to learn about garlic, because this is where I started. But you know what? This is the way it is for a lot of gardeners out there, and this is actually a really simple, easy plant to grow once you know the answer to this question: summer or fall. Summer or fall, spring, summer or fall.
Right. Yeah. I mean, ideally the time is in the fall. The time is in the fall.
Yeah.
The garlic is planted in the fall, and that's the trickiness. You want it to get just the right size. You don't want it to grow too much. You don't want to plant it in August. You want to plant it after the frost has come. Garlic's super cold hardy, so it just gets a little bit, and then that's going to die off, but it puts down the roots so that it can survive over the wintertime, and then it will shoot back up in the springtime and grow really nice.
Yep. And it's that cold stratification that's happening during the winter time where the magic is happening in the garlic. It's like a lot of other things that when it gets cold, or even some plants during the summertime, they go dormant and they just kind of slow their growing process down. But in garlic, what's happening is that little clove that you've planted in there is now starting to expand and split. So these splits are starting to happen, and that's where you get your new separate cloves that start to happen. So this happens really in that stratification process.
Yes, exactly. I believe they call that process vernalization.
Yeah, vernalization. Another way. Yep.
Yep. And when it doesn't become vernalized, then if you plant in the springtime, you often end up with a singular clove of garlic, just a fat singular clove,
like a little onion bulb underneath the ground. And really, I mean, that stuff's okay. It's all good. It's all edible.
Wonderful.
I mean, I chopped up all my garlic I grew in those first couple of years, and it was really good. It's, garlic greens are really awesome. But yeah, definitely, it's you want to plant those in the fall.
Yeah. Okay. And Freebird, she just said, Nate talked about this in his live today. Okay. She's talking about what I was talking about is specifically elephant garlic. When you harvest elephant garlic, there's a lot of little like bulblets on the bottom of the elephant.
Yeah,
garlic.
the bulbs.
Bulbs.
Yeah.
And so if you take those and plant those, and I plant them in the fall, I plant them shortly after I've harvested. So I plant them at the normal time of the garlic. Yes. And that's when, because I showed on my live stream a huge singular clove of elephant garlic, because it doesn't split the first year. Yeah. So you plant those in the fall, although give them a try and plant them in the spring now. I mean, if you guys have garlic and you haven't planted it, plant it right now, today or tomorrow, and you'll still get garlic.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to go too. And if you get enough of them, or you grow enough garlic or elephant garlic, and you're getting a bunch of these bugles, similar. One of the things I do is I've got another allium variety, another like onion variety too, that kind of produces some bugles as well. I collect those up and I grow those in the wintertime, like as microgreens.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why not? You got a bunch of extra ones and you're not going to plant them or have space ultimately for all of these different seed that you have.
Right.
Make some microgreens.
Absolutely. Definitely. I'm all about the microgreens.
Yes.
I recommend to everybody growing the microgreens because it transitions so well into your seed starting setup. And if you're growing microgreens over the winter, then you know that your seed starting setup is on point.
Yeah. John is saying my garlic's been up for several weeks. Yes. This is the time of year where you should start seeing that garlic almost anywhere you live right now, starting to just really take off.
Yes, I haven't seen John Jude in a long time. Good to see you again, my friend. The garlic being up is not a problem. Mine is coming up right now too. It is a totally atypical year, guys. I mean, the elephant garlic, everything is coming up big time. The daffodils are coming up, the irises are coming up, and they're like 3 weeks to a month early.
Oh, I'm telling you. Yeah, it's really surprised. I was having my crocuses popping out of the garden bed in early January.
Yeah.
I knew we were in for a strange season once I started seeing that happen.
Definitely.
Most all of our spring flowers are up. Tulips are actually now starting to produce flower bulbs. I've had daffodils and all that sort of stuff popping up all over the place. So yes, definitely an early season. And we did have a really warm winter here in Southern Oregon. How was your winter there in Indiana?
Super unbelievably warm, man. And I'm very sensitive to this because I host classes where I take people through sauna and ice bath. We do contrast therapy. And this year it was so warm that I had to actually get ice for the ice bath several times. It's very atypical. Yeah. But I mean, right now it's only March 7th. It should be cold outside, and it's just not. So, I mean, the trees are budding and stuff. So we really hope that we don't get a late hard freeze where it drops down to 10 degrees for 2 days or 4 days like it can. And we'll kill all the blossoms for the fruit trees, and we won't get much fruit this year.
Right. Yeah. I know. I'm kind of, it's again too, that's what I'm worried about myself. I've got a bunch of different container fruit trees. We're urban gardening, small space gardening. So we're testing out and growing different trees in containers. And I've had some really great harvests off of my peaches and my apples the last couple of years. But because what you're talking about, this warm winter, and I've got flowers already popping out, but yet I still got some frosts and some freezes to come. So we got our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Our fingers crossed.
Definitely. And that's all we can do really is build resilience into our systems, and so whatever that means for you and where you're at, that's what you have to do. You have to think of resilience. And so we can't be putting our stuff out too early. We have to have backups for everything. We have to watch the weather, yes, but also don't jump the gun. And I'm talking to a lot of my northern people. How don't jump the gun and say, "Oh, spring is here." Just wait, guys. Just wait.
Yeah. Have you ever seen, I don't know, I'm like on online and social media, there's always this little like cartoon I've seen, and it's like you see the little bulbs down in the ground and they're talking to each other, and one of them's like, "Oh man, the weather is great, let's go," you know, and then the next frame is all of them up just getting torn by the weather, and they're all looking at the one that told them to go and going, "Stupid."
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, definitely. That's what it's like. Well, especially with daffodils, man. Daffodils, I call them the 5-minute flowers because they're up and just days later, that's it. Wiped out.
Yeah.
I mean, just crazy.
Again, tulips too. One of my favorites. I love tulips, and it's so much like that. You get maybe a week or two of enjoyment from them, and and then boom, they're gone. Kind of the thing about spring flowers, though, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. I'm just going to pull a question real quick. Val said, "Nate, you mentioned it's going to be a hot summer. Is that for everyone?" Now, I'm not sure that. I actually don't think that I mentioned that. I think that I'm just saying that if we continue like this and like it has been the past 2 years where we had drought and heat, so I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to be any different this year. So yeah, that would be. But who I suggest, guys, the weather guy. I don't know if you guys know this, but Ryan Hall, y'all. Ryan Hall is fantastic weather guy.
Yeah.
So check out his YouTube channel. Yeah.
Ryan Hall. I'm gonna have to. In fact, I'm gonna write that one down real quick so I can check that out.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally more accurate than our local weatherman.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing, very interesting patterns starting to happen, or not really starting to happen, has been actually in my area now for several years, where we're starting to see these progressively warmer and warmer winters. And what follows right along with that just seems to be an extremely hot summer.
Hot, dry summer.
Drought, all that sort of stuff. So again, I mean, all we got to do is just kind of hope for the better, but anticipate that I believe, we'll probably be in for just another one of those crazy hot summers.
Right. And to prepare for that, to prepare for that. So build resilience in our systems and to prepare. Okay, what does that mean? Drip lines, maybe heavy mulch. Just prepare for a drought. Yeah. And build it as if it's not going to rain. When I was in Humboldt County, once the rains stop, it doesn't rain once for 6 months. And everything did turn brown. So we had to plan for that, and everything was in water tanks. Everything was in drip lines. So you have to build the resilience in the system, because typically here in northern Indiana, we get enough rain that we don't even have to water the crops. We feed them and stuff, but we don't need to water them. But the past several years, absolutely not. I mean, it's been months, weeks and months without rain.
Yeah, definitely. And too, I just to even emphasize again too, January 2nd for us here in Southern Oregon was 68 degrees and broke a 100-year-old record by 7 degrees.
Yeah, I believe that.
So if that tells you anything, then definitely make sure that you prepare, just as Nate says about just be prepared for it. Know what you're going to do, and set up those sort of things for your garden. Oh yeah. So Freebird was asking just a little bit ago too, Nate, should I get all my tomato seeds started this week in Indiana? Freebird, you were talking about that in your live stream.
That's right. Yes, we will be starting the tomato seeds probably tomorrow, today even, and the peppers and stuff like that, because it is going to be in early spring probably. So yes, we're going to start that, but the key is you want to make sure that you have a good seed starting setup. If you don't, then don't be, if you don't have the light's not intense, or if your airflow is not right, or if you don't have a heat mat, then you're going to produce some leggy, sickly kind of seedlings. You want to make sure you watch my videos, and you got the seeds, the 5 things that plants need. Yeah, light, water, air, nutrients, and it all has to happen at the right temperature. So if you can manipulate those 5 things properly, then now's the time to start seeds. Yes, and you'll have good, healthy transplants.
Yes, definitely. It's kind of one of my tactics. I usually already get my pepper seeds started nice and early. I've got a whole light system set up, a little light station system set up for more specifically my peppers. Is one of the things I have the most fun with in my garden. But I also do start my tomato seeds just a little bit earlier too, kind of in what we were talking about, in anticipation of what I'm possibly going to be seeing in my season ahead. Now, so my tactic this year is I'm getting my tomatoes started and I'm going to get them out there early. And one of my issues as we're seeing these hotter, more extreme summers each summer is I'm starting to get less production off of my tomato plants because, like we talked about also earlier, is that plants start to go dormant. They stop producing and slow their growth when the heat starts to get up above a certain temperature. And this is usually right around the mid 90s for a tomato plant. And anything over those mid 90s, that plant's just going to struggle to produce. You're going to see flowers falling, young fruits are going to fall right off the plants. So my tactic is to get them in early. And if I'm anticipating any sort of frost or anything like that, I'm just going to have to do the work. This is the part of the whole thing is I'm just going to have to do the work and get out there and protect these plants for those, what could be, maybe a few hours during the middle of the night where we see some frost or things like that. So at this, as we're getting towards April and those sort of areas where we're, end of this month, that we're going to be planting those outside.
Yeah, very good advice.
Yeah. So that way we can get some good production. We can get some good growth, good strong root systems, hopefully get some good tomatoes off of them before we start seeing those extreme temperatures.
Right, definitely. Yeah, good advice. And to mention to like Freebird, and if you guys want to know like when I'm planting stuff, because I'm in zone 5, 6, which the timings will be relevant for zone 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7. You can follow my Instagram because I do a lot more updates on the Instagram that I don't want to make a whole YouTube video about. So my Instagram story in particular, I'll show you what I've started today and stuff like that. So if you guys are anywhere near my zone and you want to know about when to start stuff, then check out the Instagram.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. It was Ms. P was putting. So was saying that tactic is shade cloth for the tomatoes here in zone 7A. So yeah, definitely I recommend, definitely some shading, shade cloth, or those sort of things as you're getting towards those the height of summer. And we're talking with shade cloth, we're talking about the sun and the UV and these things just beating down on the plants, and you want to kind of shade off some of that sort of stuff. But then again too, like we were also mentioning, you start getting into that 95, 100, 105, 110. Shade's not going to really do, you're going to protect the plant, but it's just not, I don't think really I've seen in my experience really helping the fruits and the fruiting and the growth of the plant. It's just at that point in time, the temperature itself overall bearing down on that plant.
Yeah, definitely. The temperature, and also what I've seen is the soil temperature. So one of the biggest issues that I see with people is that they are letting the roots cook. And so plants can take a very hot ambient temperature, but if the root zone gets too hot, then it's done. The plant shuts down. That's the worst. So I'll see a lot of people container gardening, and the container is just fully exposed to the sun, just beating down, baking that soil in their little raised bed or in their metal raised bed. It's just hot to the touch, like, And so you want to make sure that you do whatever possible to shade the root zone. So if the root zone stays cool and shaded, then the plant itself can handle pretty high temperature. So some shade cloth and then mulch and a cool root zone. That's the ticket.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe even, and again too, during the hottest time, in a sense, to kind of cool that root zone down too, is maybe get that watering out down at the base of the plant in the soil too. Get some nice cool water right on those plants during the midday, during the heat, really the hottest part of the day, and kind of just give a little bit of relief to that, soil zone.
Yes. When I was in Northern California and we were growing in greenhouses, I had everything on drip lines. Each greenhouse had a bed that was 20 feet wide by 85 feet long. It was all one bed. And so we ran the drip lines in those beds. And I would have it come on twice a day for a small amount of time. When it was the greenhouses would get to be 120. But that root zone we would keep cool by periodic, sometimes 3 times a day for just a short amount of time to just keep that root zone cool. And everything did great.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, man, I'm telling you, still a couple of other things I want to get to here, man. But we're really we've been cruising along on this
Yeah.
conversation, man. I'm telling you, really great again to have you here with me. You did talk about one thing in your live stream earlier. I did want to touch on because it's something that I'm working on this year. It's kind of my experiment of the year that I got started this last fall. I went and ordered my first batch of worms and started my first worm bins. So I've got worms working for me right off in the other room right now, and they've been working now for good 4 months or so, and I'm about ready to start harvesting my first worm castings. You did mention that you're doing some worm farming and vermicomposting yourself.
Well, the thing is that okay, so I toured a commercial worm farm. My buddy has like a commercial worm farm, and it's local. And so I'm going to make a video on how they are doing it. And then I asked him questions. Okay, how can the home gardener do it as simply as possible? And so that's going to show us what he feeds them and how he harvests them. And it's so much simpler than a lot of these complex multi-bin systems and all that kind of stuff that I see around. And these guys and the commercial people, they do stuff so that it's the biggest output for the work input. You know what I mean? So that's how we want to mimic those systems. So I'm going to show that in the video. But for me personally, I actually have not created that yet because I farm my worms in place because of the heavy mulch that I have. Okay. I mean, you can reach down into this soil and there's just worms everywhere. There's just so many worms everywhere. And there's holes all in the soil because the mulch, the favorite food of the earthworm is the leaves, deciduous leaves. And so, so.
Yeah, definitely. And that I do have that. And that's actually, I've been kind of worm farming. I mentioned in my worm video I did a little while back ago and I showed people out in the back alleyway where I've had like this compost kind of just it's just one of those compost bins. You just throw everything in and leave it. I'm not doing anything much, and I'm just leaving it. And this last year or so, what I started doing was taking a lot of the food scraps that I'm now feeding these other worm bins and stuff too, and was starting to put these scraps right into the center of this, and really started attracting all these worms and creating what is like a natural outdoor worm bin, basically. And what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to really, and I do have some that I've collected right from that system, but I've also got these just regular red wiggler worms, which are really like the really good composting worms that you can get. So I have a system of just red wigglers and then some of the outdoor ones going, just trying to experiment with all sorts of different types of growing these worms and collecting the worm castings, as this is my ultimate experiment this year, because I've done lots of different things as far as feeding plants and doing all that. But what we're going to do after we just basically base layer with compost all over all of our beds is the only feeding I'm going to feed my garden this year is just straight worm compost tea.
There we go. Very nice. Yeah, where you'll just soak it in the water. Where you'll just soak it in the water and then apply, like basically an extract.
Yep. We'll apply and create a tea, and that'll just, so whenever I would normally feed throughout the year, all I'm going to do is apply a worm compost tea. And that's just kind of our test in our garden this year, just to see if we can do this, because if this really gives me the type of results I'm looking for, or I even expect, because I'm pretty sure it's going to work really well.
Oh, it's going to work. Yeah.
Is that I've created a system that now is free almost, other than just buying those first worms, setting up the bin. Now I'm harvesting my own worm castings. I'm making my own fertilizer. And I know that's one of the things you love to do, is making your own fertilizers, making your own soil amendments and things like that as well too. I think this is just gonna be a really fun experiment for us this year.
Definitely. Yeah. I can appreciate your enthusiasm for that. Definitely.
All right. Well, we're going to have to probably hold off some of the other points and things that we were going to talk about for just a little bit later on, because we have really, really had just a wonderful conversation, and it's gone by just like that.
Yeah, that was fast. That's what happens when you get some people together that have passion about what they're doing. So it's wonderful to exchange that energy with you and with the tribe as well.
Yes, definitely. And So really awesome again to have you here with us again, Nate. Just bringing it, all of you, the Viking crew coming in and joining with us. And if anybody is watching, I know a lot of your crew is here, but if there's anybody in here who's watching who hasn't met Nate yet, who hasn't checked out his channel at all, get down in the description below. I've got a link to his channel. Go subscribe. Go check out his Saturday morning live stream. So if you're going to be watching ours and you're not doing much before watching ours, jump in and go check out Nate's live stream too, just like I do as I'm getting prepared for this show as well too. So again, Nate, it's been just really, really awesome to have you here with us this week.
Yeah, likewise, man. It's been very good. And thank you for the opportunity. And thank you to all the tribe that is coming over here and all the interactions. You know, it's an energy exchange. And that's what I love about it. It's not just a one-sided thing. I mean, we're all about growing. We've got the same passion. We got the spirit of the earth inside of us, and it's just coming out. And so it's a fantastic thing. So thank you for spreading the message. And I say to the tribe to make sure to check out your future guests that you have on. Yes. And it's all positive, guys. So thank you.
Yeah, because that's what we are, man. We are, and as you see at the top of the screen there, we're building community through gardening.
That's right.
So come on, man, let's grow. Let's grow. And I hope that all of you guys continue to follow along with us here as well too. Thank you so much again, Nate. And I really look forward to having you back on the show. We talked already yesterday about some other possibilities for us later in the season. So again, too, hopefully we'll get you back here real soon and get to dig into that brain and dig out some more of that just awesome garden knowledge. And maybe another slurp or two here and there, right?
Definitely the Viking slurp. So, all right, my friend, I appreciate you.
Excellent. Thanks again, Nate.
All right,
Good
we'll see you next time.
Awesome. All right. Yes, so awesome to have Nate with us here on the show. I mean, what a great conversation is that. I mean, really, again, like he's saying, it's just something else when you get with other people who share a passion as you do. I mean, we could have sat here all day long and talked about all sorts of stuff. I mean, I've got a list of things here that I wanted to get with him, and I probably only got through about half of it. And a lot of that also is because of all of you who jumped in to join in this conversation, especially all of you from Nate's channel, Garden Like a Viking. I really appreciate you all showing up here and showing some support for Nate here on our show. And I hope that you all come and join with us here later on in the season and next week, actually, for our next show. And if you haven't yet, hit the like button, click the subscribe button so you can follow along with us, and definitely share and let everybody know about our garden show here each and every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we'll be digging into some more awesome, great conversations with some of the gardening communities, biggest and greatest and awesomest gardeners. We really pride ourselves on who we're able to bring on to our show, as Nate is an example of. I mean, just the ability to really dig into some of these really informative conversations about all elements of gardening. We touched on all sorts of things today, and it was just really great to be able to get in and answer and talk about questions with all of you, to bring you a part of the conversation, which makes all of these live streams just even better and even more fun. So definitely look forward to more of these conversations coming up. Next week, we will be having with us Jenna from Growfully with Jenna. We're really looking forward to this conversation with Jenna. She's really awesome gardener, has a wonderful gardening channel, and she's going to probably bring some really awesome conversation, just like we got from Nate today. So definitely be sure to come back and join with us next Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that show as well too. We will be having with us Sow and Tear, who you saw in our comment section today. We'll be talking with her next week and introducing her to all of you and her channel. I got to meet her at the National Heirloom Exposition this last year, so I'm really looking forward to being able to see her again on our show this next week. Now, also, too, remember, we are going to be back right here this Sunday, tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we are going to be introducing to you all our monthly gardening book club. We're going to do a gardening book club, and we're bringing back our In the Garden segment with our good friend Mark Boucher Colbert. This is going to be really awesome to have Mark back on the show with us. We're going to be doing In the Garden each and every Sunday. We'll have him and possibly, me filling in on different weeks as well, too, for our In the Garden segment. And then on every third Sunday, I know this is only the second Sunday tomorrow. We're going to flip it for next month. But every third Sunday, we will have with us a author and a book that we feature for the month for our monthly book club, and we will discuss that. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to get together with Mark. We're going to get in the garden with him and talk all about what's coming up with the In the Garden segment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump into our monthly book club and look into what we're going to be doing throughout the season. We'll talk about some of our favorite gardening books. We'll talk about some of our favorite authors and different types of gardening books. We'll just dig into all that sort of stuff. And then what we'll do is also announce next for this first monthly garden book, we'll be announcing our garden book and author that'll be with us next month on the third Sunday of the month. So definitely come join us tomorrow for the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show, a gardening live cast. And it's going to be really great. Really, really looking forward to kind of expanding everything into Sunday. As I was mentioning at the beginning of the show, is that we've got so much growing on here. We got so many awesome people who are coming onto the show with us that we had even last year that we needed to expand into another show on Sunday in order to be able to have a lot of these guests back, so we can have some gardening roundtable discussions where we'll discuss like all sorts of things. We'll kind of center them around topics and, just be kind of subjective to that time of year and really get and dig into some of these sort of things, whether it's pests, whether it's, all sorts of stuff, pests, fertilizers, trellising, just think of a gardening subject and we'll try to cover it. And if you do have any ideas, definitely get down below in the comment section and let me know if you have any ideas of what would be some great fun gardening topics that you would like to see us discuss in some of our future gardening roundtables that we'll have on our Sunday show as well, featuring some of our past really awesome guests. And maybe we'll see Nate on one of those future gardening roundtables as well, where we'll tackle one of those really interesting and fun topics in gardening at that time. So definitely come back and join with us here. I also want to mention to you as well, too, that we do have a Facebook gardening group. And I have a link to that down in the description as well. And this is a great place for you to go and share pictures and maybe even video or questions and thoughts about your gardening. Maybe even ask some questions, because we got some really great gardeners there as well too. This is a really great place for you to be able to show me your gardens. I'm sharing you all of my gardening and those sort of things right here on my channel here, The Urban Gardener. So it'd be really awesome for you to go join with us on the Let's Get Growing Facebook group and share some of your gardening as well too. So again, it's been a really, really awesome day here today for the show, and I really look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow, Sunday, 11 a.m. for our Sunday edition of the show. So I'll either see you next Saturday or I'll see you tomorrow. You have a great gardening week.